Hey everybody, Steve here once again at Desert Memorial Park Cemetery in Cathedral City, California. And today I'm visiting one of the most famous people in the world who has one of the saddest looking grave sites or headstones of any famous person in the world. He's buried just a few yards away from Frank Sinatra. And over the years, many of you have left comments saying, you can't believe how modest and simple and plain Frank Sinatra's headstone is. Well, this man, who's famous in a different way. Frank Sinatra was a singer and an actor and recognizable to everyone in the world practically, where this man would probably not be recognized by almost anyone in the world, but everyone knows what he did. He co-founded the largest fast food restaurant chain in the world with 40,000 stores in over 100 countries in the world. McDonald's revolutionized the fast food industry. And I'm not talking about Ray Kroc. He got all the publicity and all the fame, and probably everybody recognizes his name and face. I'm talking about one of the two brothers who founded McDonald's. Maurice McDonald, known as Mac, is buried right here in Palm Springs. And Mac and his brother Dick McDonald opened up the very first McDonald's in San Bernardino, California, which is about half hour to 45 minutes from here. The two brothers revolutionized the industry, the fast food industry, pretty much actually creating the fast food industry by streamlining the way they serve food. They originally opened up their restaurant as a drive-in restaurant, which was very popular back in the 40s. But within a year or two, they realized there were only a handful of items on the menu that were purchased more than any other item. So they thought, well, why don't we just limit the menu? Instead of having a really long menu, like most restaurants did at the time, they said, let's just have half a dozen to a dozen items that people like the most. And then we can streamline the way we produce them, because the restaurant was so busy, they needed a way to really speed up the process. So they devised this speedy service system that allowed them to mass produce hamburgers and french fries and malts and milkshakes and a few other items. And before long, Ray Kroc, who was a salesman for restaurant supplies, I think he specialized in milkshake mixers, he came calling. He recognized that the brothers had invented something that he could sell and make a lot more money than just selling the products that he was currently selling. So the brothers hired Ray to be their franchise manager so they could start franchising their restaurants all over the country. This was in 1953, and it went so well that by 1961, Ray Kroc offered to buy out the brothers, and he purchased the McDonald's business and name and franchise. And being the great salesman that he was able to expand their business worldwide, making himself famous, making the restaurant famous. Unfortunately, the brothers only became famous in the history books for revolutionizing an industry. They made millions from the sale, and Mac ended up moving here to Palm Springs to retire, and I think they enjoyed the rest of their lives, knowing what they had achieved and reaping the rewards of their invention. But today, Mac McDonald's gravesite is one of the saddest gravesites, or I should say he has one of the saddest headstones of any famous person that I've ever visited in a cemetery. It's pretty sad. Now, over the years, I've been here many times. His grave is just a few yards away from my future final resting place, my cremation niche, which is up on the wall. So over the years, I've visited his gravesite quite a few times, walked by it many times as I'm walking to my own future final resting place. And this is the first time I've ever seen flowers. So I'm happy to see that he is at least remembered by some. And he is on the list of celebrities and famous people who are buried in the cemetery. There's a map. The cemetery offers a map right by the office, and his name listed. But for many years, his gravesite was completely illegible. I mean, his name wasn't even legible. So it does look like in the past year or two, someone must have cleaned it off, or cleaned it off as well as they could. It's still very, very difficult to see. We have the water here in Palm Springs, in the Palm Springs desert area. It's very hard water with a lot of minerals and calcium, and it just, a lot of the graves, because the grass is watered every day, sometimes a couple times a day, the water sits on the grave and then it builds up over the years, and then with the extreme heat that we have in the summer, bleaches out the names of the headstones. So the combination of just all the years and the wear and the weather has not been a friend to his headstone. And I'm guessing he must not have any family members left here in the area to clean his gravesite or to place a new gravesite where the letters, there are some gravesites here or some headstones here where the letters are raised, so even though the water still discolors the headstone, you can still read the names and the dates and all of the other information on the headstones. But the particular headstone that he has, which is actually very popular here, and it looks really nice when it's first placed, within a year or so, you can no longer read the person's name or see anything on the headstone. So it's very sad, but it just kind of goes with the weather here and the watering of the grass. But I'm happy to see that I was able to read his name today. This is the first time I've really ever been able to read it. I knew where the grave was located, but I was never able to read his name in the past. So that's nice that someone has at least tried to clean it sometime in the recent past. And this is the first time I've seen flowers, and it's fun to see that they've placed flowers in the signature McDonald's colors, red and yellow. So that's kind of nice too. Maurice, or Mac McDonald, was born on November 26, 1902 in Manchester, New Hampshire, and died here at his home in Palm Springs, California on December 11, 1971. He died from heart failure and he was only 69 years old. His grave is located in row B8, grave 43, and there are markers on the ground to be able to find it fairly easily, even if you aren't able to read the headstone very well. And he's located in the very front of the cemetery, right near the office, just 1 or 2 rows over from Frank Sinatra. And I just wanted to come by today and visit his gravesite and share with all of you. I think he definitely deserves to be remembered as much as any other famous person. And hopefully someday, if he doesn't have any family members, if he doesn't have any living family members, maybe the McDonald's Corporation or the fast food industry or someone else will raise the funds to place a new headstone to remember one of the most important people in American history, certainly in American restaurant history and fast food history. I know these headstones aren't very expensive, and hopefully if that happens, they'll choose a headstone with the raised lettering so it doesn't just become invisible after a year or so. So as always, thanks for joining me on another trip down memory lane, and until our next visit to the cemetery together, thanks for sharing the memories, everybody.